Good evening, friends and family, and thank you for coming to another night with Repair, Restore, and Grow Black Communities Behind Black Business. And as you know, we are working to enhance the awareness and support of Black businesses within our communities here in Chicago, because our businesses have the opportunity to help us to circulate dollars. Businesses play a large role in the success and sustainability of communities. And our representation of businesses in our communities is not where it should be. And the businesses in our communities are not getting the support that they need, the resources that they need. So we have to do our part and support our Black businesses. And that's what Repair, Restore, and Grow Black Communities is all about. So we bring these podcasts to you on Wednesday nights, with different businesses from the community and people who are working in the community to have an impact on our sustainability. And tonight we have asked the tax doctor, Anthony Travis, to come back and give us an update on what is happening with our property taxes here in Chicago. He has spearheaded this campaign and he has been working day and night to address this issue. And so, Anthony, I want to thank you for coming on tonight. And most of all, I want to thank you for taking on this humongous task of going up against this giant of a problem that we have here in Chicago with the burden of the all of the burden that has been put on the property owners and our property taxes. So thank you for coming and thank you for what you're doing.
Well, I appreciate that. And I thank you for the great job that you're doing on Wednesdays with this podcast and bringing attention to the fact that we need entrepreneurs. We need entrepreneurs. We need entrepreneurs. That means we need you to go into business for yourself.
That's right.
So you can hire people.
That's right. That's okay. Right.
So we have to understand before we get off into these taxes, if we don't have economic empowerment and help create wealth, we're doomed. The Jews get it, the Hispanics get it, the Indians get it, but we act like we don't get it. And believe me, brothers and sisters, I know about redlining, Jim Crow, all that nonsense that have happened to us. I shouldn't use the word nonsense, but we can't let that stop us from moving forward like all these other groups are doing, even though they haven't had the obstacles thrown in their ways.
That's right.
Ours.
That's right.
No, they was given a boot with straps. Mm-hmm. We was given the strap with no boots.
That's right.
Okay. That's right. And so we now have to understand we must learn how to work together, spend our money together. And we're not saying we hate anybody, because we don't.
That's right.
But we got to love ourselves. And we have to love the communities that we're supposed to build in harmony with one another.
Absolutely.
Now.
And then thank you for that introduction. And before we get started, I do want to remind our audience that we are great supporters of our bookstores here in Chicago. And we have our bookstore of the month is still Afriware Books, where you can locate Afriware Books at afriware.com. And Sister Nzinga is doing a phenomenal work of keeping this bookstore afloat. And if you go to her website, she has books for children, she has books for adults, she has other items in her bookstores as well. And so please support her. And we're supporting our bookstores and we're trying to pass knowledge on to you through our book giveaway. And so the book that she chose is Asada Shakur, her autobiography by Asada Shakur. And if you want to win a copy of that book, all you have to do is go to rrgbc.org and subscribe. And at the end of this month, we will be identifying our winner of that book. And then we will make arrangements for you to receive that book free of charge, shipping and handling at our expense. It is the knowledge that is important, which is something that we will be discussing a little bit about in this podcast, because it is our lack of knowledge of our political system that is contributing to some of the condition that we're experiencing right now. So please support the Afriware Bookstore. Please go to afriwarebookstore.com and purchase your books from Afriware. We also ask that you go to Save Black Bookstores Chicago at change.org and sign our petition, as we are working to get dollars for our bookstores. Also, the Southside Community Federal Credit Union, which is located at 540 South Wentworth, they're still there providing all types of loans for you, all types of loans for people in the community. And they have better loans in lieu of these payday loans that are out here right now, charging you all of this interest that is causing you to fall into deeper and deeper debt. They have some better solutions for you. If you have children that you want to set up a bank account for, go to the Southside Community Federal Credit Union. They have a Christmas savings. They have car loans. And so there are all types of loans. They have business loans, small business loans. So please support the Southside Community Federal Credit Union, because the Southside Community Federal Credit Union is supporting the community. And then you can also go to our website at rrgbc.org and donate to help us continue to do the work that we're doing as far as enhancing the awareness and support of Black businesses here in Chicago. Okay. All right. So, Anthony, the last time that we talked, you were having meetings at the library, and you were talking to people about this problem with our property taxes. So, first of all, I want you to explain to people. Now, some of us who are many people who have gotten their tax bills understand that there's a problem, because there's been increases in tax bills. I had someone call me early this morning and said that they had a $3,000 increase in their property tax. And this is someone who owns a rental property over on the west side. And as we know, that cost is going to be carried over to his renters, because he's not going to be able to absorb that. So I want you to talk to us about what this property tax problem is and what is going on with it right now.
All right, thank you for that intro. Folks, this is a serious crisis that we're in. What then happened is that the folks in downtown Chicago, especially the commercial areas, when the commercial community don't have folks renting their facilities, open up businesses in their facilities, that means that's less money that the owners of that facility have coming in. So what do that mean for all of us? That means that they're going to go to the Cook County assessor for help, the border review for help. And when they show that they don't have the income coming in, therefore their property should depreciate in value. And when that depreciate in value, that means that tax levy that these units of government has laid out, somebody got to make up that difference. And folks, that's why you're seeing these high and outrageous tax bills, because the burden was shifted away from downtown over to the residential community. And Denise, that's why these folks are getting the shockwave to their eyeballs when they look at them tax bills. And I want to make it perfectly clear, folks. Perfectly clear. I just got my tax bill in the mail. Okay? And I want you to understand, because of the fact that I am a veteran and I am 100%, I pay no taxes. I want to make that perfectly clear. Now, why am I saying this? I'm saying this to let you know I am out here fighting for you. Because number one, the most hideous taxes we got right now is property taxes. And we have to understand that for us, property taxes have been used as a racist wedge between us and the haves. And the haves have been getting over because the burden was shifted over to us. And that's why when you get that tax bill and your eyeballs start popping out your head, that's why.
Well,
Now,
first of all, okay, now someone just joined us.
that was Obi Werlaw.
Okay, now he was there, but now we don't see Obi. I don't know where he went.
There he
There
is.
you are. Okay, Obi, thank you for coming. Can you hear me?
Under the weather. He can hear you.
Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Are you able to speak? Do you have your mic on?
I have a cold, so I'm.
You have a cold. That's okay. That's okay. Well, thank you for being here. We'll definitely be looking to hearing from you and what you have to say about this matter. But one of the things I wanted to ask is, when we talk about assessing your property, it's my understanding that it's not based on the market value of your home.
No, it's based on the assessed value that the assessor put on your home. Because what they're saying, they're looking at other properties around your area or 10 blocks from you and put you in a certain code. And in that code is how they determine what price tag they're gonna put on your property.
So they get to put whatever price tag they want.
Absolutely. That's the flaw with this system.
Mm-hmm.
Because California had the same setup that we got, and they overhauled their system in 1978 with a thing called Proposition 13. Now, over the weekend, Dr. Richard Townswell of the North Lawndale Development Organization had a burning of the property tax bills. Something that's symbolic. But the point he has made is that these taxes are out of whack. And so that group are very upset with this crisis. So I've been in communication with Audrey Pierce of the association. She would have been on with us tonight, but she had a medical issue. But she did make a pledge to you and I that her group will work with us. Folks, let me tell you, people are beginning to realize that only in numbers will we be able to become victorious in this state by overhauling this system. And folks, it's been 55 years since we had the last constitutional convention that have helped create the madness that we are living up under. And so now that everybody got them tax bills, Denise, they're ready to jump out the window. And we're saying, wait a minute. The cavalry is here, y'all. The cavalry is here. Because we have the solution to solving this problem. And we're going to talk about that. But then there's another guy. Named Adam Shorter, who's a public official out in Madison, Illinois. He also want to join our movement. And he's put it out there that it's time for folks to understand you got to get up. You got to wake up and overhaul this system. So, like I say, the cavalry is coming. The cavalry is here.
Now, see, he's in Madison, so this is in your southern suburbs, where the taxes have been outrageous.
Yes.
And it seems to always be happening in Black communities.
Yes. And matter of fact, 1,000 Black families in Cook County have lost their property and their home equity because of a law that was written in 1951 by the tax investors. So they wrote the law, and during the time they wrote the law was part of the Great Migration from the South to the North. And that law is causing Black folks to lose their property and their home equity. So, folks, if you want to be mad, if you want to be upset, you need to look in the mirror at yourself. And the reason I'm talking like this is because we got legislators in Springfield that you and I vote for. We send them to Springfield to work on our behalf. But folks, they have let us down. As they keep telling me, Denise, skin folks ain't necessary kinfolk.
Well, you know, part of the problem there is with our, as we were speaking to the lady who was part of the tax burning this weekend, about our people's lack of knowledge about this political system. That's one of the imbalances. When you look at the wealthier districts, they're more politically astute, they're more politically involved, they've got their feet under the fire, under the feet of those politicians, and they understand how this system works. And even the immigrants who have come to this country, this is something that Rahm Emanuel did when he created the new city, and he had that created that program that he created for the immigrants. They not only got health care support with housing, but they also had information about how this government works and how to navigate themselves, and whatever aspirations it is that they had, how to utilize this government politically. And our children are not taught what they're supposed to be taught in the schools. And we have a small segment of our people who are actually voting, and that's mostly our seniors. And so it's like they take advantage of the seniors. They get the seniors, from what I have seen, take them and feed them dinners and so on and so forth. And the seniors come out and vote, and then that's the end of it. Then they go do what they want to do. So Black people are going to have to wake up. What got us out of a lot of situations that we were in, as far as when we were in the South, that took a lot of organization, and it took a lot of education,
Yes.
and work for people to know what to do. And we have dropped the ball on that. So that's one thing that needs to happen, is our people need to be educated about this process, so you even know what your alderman is supposed to do, what your state rep is supposed to do, what your congressman's responsibility is to you and your community. And so that's a piece I wanted to put out there, and something that needs to happen.
Well, let me say this, because our people need to know where our state senators stand, our state president of the Senate stands, and the state representative, who is the Speaker of the House. Now, the Speaker of the House is my state rep. And he told me to my face, I'm not going to call your two bills. Well, wait a minute, Mr. Speaker. Velma Lewis, who lives in Maywood, in your district, she lost a $180,000 house because of $6,000 in taxes. And she lost her home equity. She was just part of the 1,000 Black families in Cook County who lost their property over taxes. Now, the problem with the Speaker is he thinks my way of thinking is too extreme, because I support consolidation. I support the reorganizing or the restructuring of all these units of government.
What does he mean by too extreme?
He mean that
that's more than what he's not willing to do what needs to be done to make this change.
Absolutely.
That's what that means.
But what I shot back to him was, the governor had a task force on police and fire pensions. It was 653 separate police pension funds. The governor right-hand man who chaired that task force got it down to 2. 653 down to 2. And so I sent that text message back to the Speaker and said, is that too extreme, Mr. Speaker? So if the governor can liquidate 653 separate police and fire pensions down to two. And we're talking about the money. That's extreme, but it's in taxpayers' best interest that they did that. Now let's shoot over to the president of the Senate, Don Harmon. I was with him on Veterans Day out at Gottlieb Hospital. And I said to the president of the Senate, we need to get the schools off the property tax system. He said, that's a tall order. And when I think about what he said, Denise,
Mm-hmm.
slavery was a tall order. The Voting Rights Act was a tall order. Jim Crow was a tall order. Redlining was a tall order. Okay? So we have to begin to think outside the box and let these folks know we're sick and tired of being sick and tired that you guys sitting down there in Springfield. And one thing I can say about the speaker, he is proud to tell you he's sitting on 78 votes in the House. That's what you call a super majority. In the Senate, they're sitting on 40 votes. Again, a super majority. So Denise, if you got all them votes, tell me why you can't fix our problem.
Because you're not working for us.
Thank you.
We have another guest here. I'm assuming that you invited. You want to introduce your guest?
Yes, this is Gary Dingle. He is the president of the Far South Suburban chapter of the NAACP. And folks, this man is out there fighting for us about these property taxes. Go ahead and say some words, Gary.
All I can say, hello to everyone, and tax doctor, you were right on as you always are. And I'll tell you what, they're going to have to change because they don't have any choices. They don't have a choice, and you know what? If they don't make the change, the change will make it for them, because we know the stress that's on the system where we live, especially property taxes. It's going to fix itself, but it's going to be the worst kind of fix we get, and we won't survive. So I've been doing enough studies and doing forecasts using some, um, I'm saying, stochastic modeling, which is a way of doing models of the future events, So, and it come up with the same thing over and over again, same output. If we don't make changes, this state's going to go down the tubes real fast. So we got about 10 years. I did model for 5, 10, and 15 years out. At the end of 15 years, at the end of 10 years, if we haven't done anything, we will be in a lot of trouble. And when they say nothing, that means they've done nothing. Now, we do some small modifications or something like that, that might help things. But ultimately, we have to do consolidation. And every model says the same thing. In fact, not only my models, I read other studies, and they all say the same thing. You have to consolidate because we just have the tax burden is just too high in this state. It's just too high, and you can't fix it by taxing everything else, and you still can't fix it. You come up short. In some cases, it's over 20, $25 billion. If you overtax everything at like 5%, it still come up short. So what the tax doctor is saying is absolutely right. They have to do it, and they should do it with control, not because they're worried about things completely falling apart, or people getting their pensions are 25 cents on a dollar, maybe 50 cents on a dollar, you
Yeah.
know. So
And see, even with the increase in the taxes, with the increases that have gone to the public schools, it's like no matter how much money they put on the table, like you say, they still end up having to cut programs. They still end
Right.
up having to cut staff. You
Right.
know, they still end up under, schools are still under resourced.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Schools
and
are
so
under, yeah, the schools are under resourced, and the issue is, and you look at, okay, they're spending this money on schools, right? Mostly on administration, But the problem is, then you look at the results, and like I was doing, I looked at, I got to stop doing that. I look at the results. I look at Illinois. I look at other states. I say we're spending this much money, not necessarily on the students, on the administration, and these are the results we have.
that's right.
Something's not right. Those results don't match the amount of money we're spending.
Children are
And
not
so,
learning how to read.
yeah, not learn exactly, and not
And
even
what is that? What was the article that you sent me earlier this week, Anthony, about the teacher absenteeism rates?
Yeah, I,
that's
I mean that's scandalous.
that I know.
The reason they're absent is because they are doing union business down in Springfield. They are missing these days to go down to Springfield to fight to get more benefits. Now, let's step back a little bit. We're the state of Illinois. We're number one in taxes. We're number one in units of government. And when we talk about units of government, folks, we got 1,400 townships, 1,300 municipalities, 102 counties, 856 school districts, and you got over 800 some fire districts. Folks, these are the things we're talking about. And then when you take the townships, the municipalities, the counties, then you got to break down what's the population of these communities. Now, I was born in 1954. My grandparents came from a town called Ulin, Illinois. When I became 5, 6, 7, and I would go down to Southern Illinois to stay with my grandmother, the population was 500. And that was going back to the 50s. Folks, it's 2025, and the population is still 500. If that ain't crazy, Denise, I don't know what is. But when you begin to look at the demographic, the population of the 102 counties, the 1,300 townships, the 1,400 townships, 1,300 municipalities, you have to look at how many people are in these communities. You got counties that may have 300 people, 400, 500, all the way up to Cook County. Because, we're the largest county in the state. When is somebody in Springfield going to wake up and say, we need an audit of these townships, municipalities, counties, so that we can begin to realize it's time to start liquidating some of this mess? Okay? Let me give you a prime example. And folks, this stuff is real. Let me lay this out to everybody, because I want you to understand how serious this crisis is. In 1942, Illinois had more than 12,000 school districts. 12,000. The most of any state in the nation. Over 10,000 of these were one-room schools with an average enrollment of 12 students.
That's crazy.
By 1955, the state had cut the number of districts down to 2,242. And by the year 2000, the district count has fallen to 894. Now we're down to 856 in 2025. Can you imagine if we still had 12,000 school districts? We would be totally financially bankrupt. And my state senator told me to my face, I don't support school consolidation. The budget ain't right to get the schools off the property tax system. Well, if we don't sit down with the stakeholders and make these moves, like Gary just pointed out, folks, we already have lost 180-some thousand people, citizens, to other states. Denise, they took $64 billion with them.
Mm-hmm.
$64 billion. Now, the folks that just got their tax bills the last 2 days, and some still haven't gotten them, but it's a shock wave that hit these taxpayers. Rightfully so. Now, the last 2 days, I've been listening to WVON. WVON had a reporter on and someone from Fritz Kage's office. Then on another day, he had someone else on from Fritz Kage's office. Now, Fritz is pushing for a circuit breaker law that's being carried by Representative Justice Slaughter. Now, the bill didn't get no traction in the veto session. So now they got to come back in January to try to get the House and the Senate to pass that bill. But I want folks to understand that the circuit breaker bill is not going to solve our problem. Let me make that perfectly clear. Because what's going to solve the problem is getting the schools off the property tax system, consolidating school districts, and liquidating and restructuring all these other units of government in this state. That's what's going to solve the problem.
And see that circuit breaker response is no better than what is it, Maria Pappas, when the people were burning the tax bills.
Yes.
And she got on the horn and says, you don't have to pay them on the date.
Right.
Due.
But they still got to get paid.
You still have to pay them.
Yes.
Now you have two bills on the table. Yeah. What are your two bills?
The two bills that we have on the table. One bill, which is LRB 104-08710. And the reason it doesn't have a number yet, because our legislators haven't had the courage to file these bills on behalf of us. One bill deal with restructuring of the school districts, the school code. Now, what we have to understand, Illinois has 12 countywide school districts on the books. And when we talk to the LRB, we're looking at Florida. Florida have 2,700,000 students now, and they only have 70 school districts. We now have 1,800,000 students, and we got 856 school districts, Denise. You see the contrast.
Mm-hmm.
That's where all your money's going, everybody.
Right.
Everybody's talking about where's the money going. When you get that tax bill, for those that got their tax bills, look at the breakdown. I received the tax bill from a friend out of District 299. He paid $7,000 to 299. $7,000. Okay? He called me a little while ago. He said my tax bills just went up 3 more thousand. Did y'all hear that?
Yeah.
3 more thousand.
That's terrible.
And he said, tax doctor, I hold you responsible for fixing this mess. I said, okay, friend. I said, you know.
And people losing their homes.
Yes, they are.
In that kind of situation,
yes,
you can't even sell your house.
Exactly.
Because people are gonna look at your house and they're gonna look at the taxes.
And they're gonna walk away.
Or they're gonna try to lowball you on your house.
Yeah.
Because they're looking at this big tax bill.
The question I always have, and I've asked you for this, I said, when the taxes go up on your property, the value of your house, the market value drops. So how can they maintain that tax value? And that's part of the model. The model does a study, and it's a downward spiral, because if you don't make any changes, that thing keeps growing down. In other words, the value of the house drop, the tax burden keeps going up.
Yeah,
it's the same, and everything is so you can't sell your house because nobody want to buy it, but you're still paying more taxes on it. So, and then
in your community, your schools are under resourced and all of that. I mean, what are you getting for now? How is this impacting this concentration of this near north side here in Chicago, where you got all of these businesses, you have all of these basically young whites moving to Chicago, living in those areas? How are they being affected by all of this?
Well, a lot of them are being affected too now.
Right.
Because when the commercial properties are going vacant, that means if I own a commercial storefront and it's vacant, I got to run to the assessor and the board of review to get some relief.
But I'm not seeing that over there. When I go over there, I go down Milwaukee, you go down Division, Chicago Avenue, all those streets on the near north side is what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Inundated with every kind of business you can think of.
Well, their taxes is going up too. Okay. And they're complaining now too. But what we have to also understand, even with the folks who live on the Gold Coast, when those properties got devalued, that means they got a tax cut, which means we subsidize the wealthy communities.
That's right.
And we subsidize those business communities.
without
on the
tax
north side.
increase.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. Now, when you think about the second bill written by the LRB, and folks, let us make it perfectly clear. We know none of these solutions going to take place overnight. So let's be for real. We're for real. Now, my state rep, the Speaker of the House, like to tell me that I'm delusional in my way of thinking. Okay? And we're saying, let's look at this thing from a pragmatic perspective. All we're asking in the restructuring of how we finance our schools, in this bill, we're asking for a study to be done.
That's right.
This bill is seeking a study. And once you have the study and you can begin to break down all the ways of raising the different revenues you need to fund our schools by lieu of statewide coffers. Because you can get more money statewide to fund education than you can from the way it's set up now, where you got the poor community versus the wealthy communities. The wealthy communities can raise their taxes 1% and still bring in more money than the poor communities.
That's right.
That's why it's historically racist in nature, unjust for our babies, because you're telling our babies, based on your zip code, you might end up dead or in jail
Mm-hmm.
because you don't have enough money to get yourself properly educated like the children in New Trier up north. And we're saying that ain't the way it's supposed to be. When you think about California and the fact that they had the courts on their side, it was the courts who told Sacramento how you are funding school is unconstitutional. How you're treating these babies is wrong. Well, we had a constitutional convention in 1970. And at that convention, folks, those delegates could not agree upon how to make the state fund education at 100%. If they would have done that 55 years ago, we wouldn't be talking about property taxes today, folks. Because the state would have raised the money statewide. And they would have had enough money to fund education. But you also got to keep in mind, you got to have what? A restructuring of these units of government.
That's right.
You don't have no choice, folks. And so, when we look at this bill, property tax replacement feasibility study, that's what we're saying, folks. We're asking for a feasibility study to be done with this bill. What's wrong with that, Denise?
I think I know what's wrong with it. Because they already know what the answer is. And they
That's
don't
right.
want to do it.
They don't
That
want to do it.
feasibility study, you got 2 feasibility studies and they won't do them.
Now
They
you
just
mentioned something earlier in the show. Was it back in the 50s? A tax code. What was that you mentioned that happened?
1951, the
Yes.
tax investors wrote the law. This guy said, we would take your property or put you in jail. That happened in 1951.
And that's if you didn't pay your taxes. You didn't pay the
Absolutely.
property taxes.
Absolutely. Yes.
1951. 51.
The law is still on the books.
That was my year, 51. That's all I can say.
But the problem is this, Denise. State Rep Marcus Evans, he's in the appraisal business. He's been in that business a long time. Representative LaShawn Ford, he's in real estate. How many other legislators are in real estate? How come none of these folks have come back to the black community to educate the black community on some of the laws that was written that's anti-us? So, once again, I say this to the voters out there. You have to begin to hold these folks' feet to the fire. If you've been in Springfield over 10, 15, 20 years, and you know that this law is on the books and you ain't done nothing about it, shame on you. And one thing I say about Maria Pappas, and folks hear me when I say this, she is quick to tell us, y'all the dummies. Y'all keep sending these people back to Springfield.
Mm-hmm.
And she's right. She is right. We are the dummies.
Now, as a member, let me ask this question. As a member of NAACP, when we talk about holding feet to the fire, what should that look like?
You're asking me what it should look
Yes.
like?
Yes.
Well, we just should make sure those people are voting for the best. They're legislating for the best interests of the community. And a lot of times they don't do that. What they do, and one of the things I've been telling people, I've been asked to do at least 3 speeches recently about voting, or a few months back. And the one thing I keep telling people at the end of my speech is that, after telling them why they have to vote, why they should vote, and how to vote and everything, I tell them that you have to vote for people who actually care about people. And that's the issue right there. Because right now, a lot of these people, when you talk to them, you begin to realize that they're not really that concerned about their constituency, and they really should be. And I tell them, you got to vote. You got to find people that really care about the community. And the thing is, maybe they'll make the change. And they have to. You have to vote for people who are brave enough to do what's necessary. And sometimes doing what's brave enough to do what's necessary means you have to make some people upset. You have to step on some people's toes, and you have to maybe even smack them around a little bit. Say this is what we have to do. And the thing is, they're not willing to do it because once they become that part of that group, they kind of like just it becomes like a member of a group. And I ain't gonna say it's a gang, but it sure looks like a gang of people who don't want to.
It is. It is a gang. When you go to when they're running for office,
right?
And you go to these forums, you can't even get your questions asked.
Yeah.
They sit there and cipher through the questions, and all of this it happens from the top of the presidency on down, right? Only a few questions are asked, and that's it.
I know. And the thing is, we really have to be careful who you vote for, and you have to question them. You have to make sure you're not voting for the wrong reason.
And we have to have an agenda. And this is one of the items that needs to be on the agenda about this tax reform. Right. And so we have to have an agenda that we can all agree to, that we presenting to these people to pass our litmus test. Because if they're not listening to this agenda, then they shouldn't even get our consideration.
Absolutely
And
right.
you're so right about that, Denise, because the business community, as Obi like to tell us, our business people, they the one who should be calling the shots, okay? But they're not doing that. When you think about our public officials, once we vote for them and we don't go to their fundraisers and spend that $200, $500 buying their tickets, whoever is dropping down the coins to fund their campaign, that's who they're going to be beholden to, even though we vote for them. So if Gary donate $10,000 to my campaign and you give me nothing, and I get a phone call from you and Gary, who do you think phone call I'm going to take first? Gary's. That's the game. That's the system. We have not learned how to master this system. And I'm not so sure I want to master this system.
The system needs to change.
It does.
It does.
It
It
needs to change.
Yes, it
Because
does.
come on, if we see what's happening in the Oval Office right now. You
Yeah.
know, you pay him, you get what you want, and that we can't have. I mean, we do it in the United States almost on every level now.
And it's not just him. He's not
That's
there
right.
by himself.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
No.
All the things that are happening, all the terrible things that people say about Donald Trump. If they wanted to get rid of him, they could get rid of him.
Yes.
You know, so that's the game.
It's a game, and you know what? And the only people that suffer are the people, everyday people, the constituency, the people who are trying to live from day to day, who
And
just trying to have a
especially
decent
black
life,
people.
and black people. Yeah, and in fact,
Especially black people.
this is why we got that resolution through in ACP. It's a national resolution, so because what's happening in Illinois or in the urban areas, especially Chicago, obviously, it's happening in all most other states where they have urban areas and black people living, because black people have become the sacrificial group of people. If they're going to take something away, they're going to go after us first. And and they say, well, they're not going to do anything, or they're not going to know. And when they find out, it's going to be too late. And the thing is, what they'll do is say, we're going to bring some jobs in, and they're going to bring in jobs, $15 an hour, maybe $20 an hour. But the top level jobs, the jobs that make all the money, they're going to bring in their people, not the people in the community. And so if we end up with these facilities, like the trucking facilities and everything, and they don't pay any taxes, they get a TIF, the property taxes are low, and then people trying to figure out where's all the money, and then the jobs are sad. And where's the money for the community? There's no money for the community, so we keep doing this over and over again. And it basically, and when you look at other towns like you say Nutria, that's Evanston, or some of the other towns where they're basically taking control of their community, the things that make the top cities in Illinois top cities are the things that they have. And what they have good schools, they have uh, excellent amenities for families, they have businesses for families and people, and they don't have industrial. But they're
They
trying to
have
industrialize the South
communities.
suburbs.
They have communities, and
They
the
have community,
community
right?
is where you can live, it's where you can work,
And
it's
raise your
where you can
family.
play.
And
And
raise your
and as you I listen to these conversations, it reminds me of this book I think I read with my daughter like 25 years ago. Freedom Train. I think it was Freedom Train about Harriet Tubman. And
Yeah.
this book started out talking about the disparity between the black schools and the white schools. But I'm listening, I'm thinking about this, and I'm like, what has changed?
Nothing.
The dynamics, our quality of life, so to speak, or standards have changed, but the dynamics in terms of our relationship, with this government, with this country, it hasn't changed. If Malcolm X was standing talking today, he could be saying the same thing as he was saying
No,
when
he
he was
could.
alive and wouldn't be missing a beat.
No.
That's why.
So we're
That's
at the top of the hour, Anthony.
yes.
I want you to give some closing remarks here.
Yes.
You are definitely welcome to come back
Yes.
here at any time. And I would like to also have a show where we talk more about how to get people engaged. What is it that we need to be expecting, even knowing what to expect from these political officials?
Well, let me say this, folks. You, the voter, you, the taxpayer, you need to understand that this is election season. If these folks that want your vote cannot tell you that they are willing to fight to overhaul this system, don't vote for them. Find a candidate that feels the way we feel. Find a candidate that's willing to stand up and fight for you. And folks, join our movement. My number is 773-988-0934. Gary can give your number, our website with the NAACP website, so they can go there and look at all this good information.
Well, I can give you the website. I'm gonna give you my phone. I don't know the phone number. The website is naacpcfssb.org, and it's easy. I mean, we're NAACP Chicago Far South Suburban Branch. Now repeat it one more time: NAACP CFF CFSSB.org, and that's our website. And basically, you can find me on the website, and just if you just put in the Chicago Far South Suburban Branch, it will find the website. It'll find us out.
And also, Denise, next year, the convention of the NAACP will be in Chicago.
National Convention is in Chicago.
And we're going to be talking about Black folks, because one
Yeah.
of the problems we had when we started this organization, and people told us to go to other organizations that had already been formed, and people were telling us, don't go there talking that Black stuff, so I mean, this is so this is
But what are we supposed to talk about?
what are we going to talk about, So we got some house cleaning to do. I'm gonna tell you this story, and then I'm gonna end this show.
Okay.
I was coming out from out of town at the airport, and I was in an Uber. The guy had a electric car, and we were coming down the Kennedy Expressway, and there's I think it's a Polish church right there as you turn. Maybe it's past North Avenue or somewhere in there, but there's this church, and the expressway is real close to it. And he was pointing it out to me, and he says, when they started building these expressways here, they wanted to tear that church down, but I believe there was a Polish community, and he said the people in the community told the politicians, I don't know if it was the alderman, the state rep, but they said, if this church gets torn down, don't you bother to come back to this community.
Wow.
And that church is still there. That expressway built right up close to that church.
They found a way.
That's right.
They found a way to keep that church right there.
Absolutely.
So and we had to be just as diligent as they were.
That's
and we
right.
have to, keep to our word. If we say we're not going to vote for you, we're not going to vote for you. And the thing is, think sometimes that we don't have choices, and that's why they do what they do.
But we do have choices.
They
We
no, they
do.
think we're not going to use our choices.
Yes.
You know, they
Exactly.
think we're
We're
not
not
going to
gonna
do
do
anything.
much.
We're just going to
Yes.
yak.
Right.
So,
Right.
Please, we thank you. We thank
Yeah.
for this
Absolutely.
golden opportunity, and we will be back.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, friends and family, we have work to do here in Chicago. Support Black businesses.
Yes,
Don't be scared to talk about that Black
that's
stuff.
right.
All right. Okay. And
That's
thank you
the
for coming.
greatest thing I've heard in a long time. But that you are absolutely right. That's that tendency, you know. You don't want to.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. It's terrible though. We're gonna work on that too.
Well, we're paying for it.
That's yes, we're paying
All
for it
right.
for sure.
Good
All
night.
right.
Good
Good
night,
night.
everybody.